when you exist in such a terrible place, you really have no perspective of how bad your situation is until you start to realize how good it can get in some other places. The same with the people that live in safe places. I guess they don't understand how bad it can get until they go there and they experience it. And well, that was a reality from forever. The agency, what's supposed to do is to promote the education, to create collaboration with industries, with other countries, and to create a clear path for these industries to develop in the country. And that's what they want for starters, to understand what is needed from them to comply with, in terms of safety, in terms of ethics. So that's the plan right now.
Mario, we got the new AI czar of El Salvador, and you're like the David Sachs of El Salvador. Do you know who David Sachs is?
I feel like I do. It has to be with banking.
Yeah, he was appointed in like the Trump administration, he's like the AI and crypto czar.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's what I know. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, yeah.
So you're the David Sachs of El Salvador now.
Well, I guess so.
Minus
yeah,
the crypto
totally.
part, because we don't do crypto here.
Oh, definitely not. That's a bad word.
So Mario, you've been working at the Bitcoin office for 3 years now? How long?
3 years. I think it was the 14th of November of 2022
Okay.
that the Bitcoin office was officially launched, I think. And I've been there since it was launched.
Yeah. No, I remember Stacy talking about you and talking about how fortunate she was to have somebody there to help her navigate through things. And so I know she's really appreciated you.
It's just been such a crazy ride without trying to sound too like copy paste from every person trying to explain the whole thing that's been going on in their life for the last 3 years,
So give us a little bit of your backstory. We were talking before we went on that you were actually watching Max and Stacy when you were in high school back in, I think, 2011. You said that. So give us a little bit of that backstory and what life was like for a young Salvadoran at that point. What you were thinking life had, was going to hold for you versus what you've experienced.
Well, funny enough, before we started, I thought we had already started, but we hadn't, right? So I was like getting in the zone to explain the reality of this country 15 years ago. So the reality of this country 15 years ago was violence. Just today, this morning, I rewatched on Twitter. They were posting some photos about the bus that they turned on fire.
Oh, I remember that when the gangs basically lit the bus on fire full of people.
Yeah. Honestly, that was like terrible, but for us was like, oh, again or something, It was
news, but it wasn't like crazy news. It was like, oh, here we go again.
Time. And it didn't even happen that far from where I live or from the rest of my family lives. And I don't even know, like, when you exist in such a terrible place, you really have no perspective of how bad your situation is until you start to realize how good it can get in some other places. The same with the people that live in safe places. I guess they don't understand how bad it can get until they go there and they experience it. And well, that was a reality from forever. 15 years ago, I was in high school, and
hey guys, just a brief interruption. We'll get back to the exciting show here, but I just want to really ask a favor that you guys could make sure that you're subscribed if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this on a podcast, please take a second and review this. You don't even have to write a lengthy review or anything at all. Just click the number of stars that you want to give us. It really helps us in the algorithms to make sure people are finding out about what's happening here. All right, back to the show.
Being 15 years old and not being particularly special in many ways, I always was bound by the reality of being a young person in a very poor country, in a very poor and the most dangerous country in the planet, which, despite my inherent positivism as a person, as a personality thing, I always felt the huge pressure of the reality, that the fact that I didn't know how I was going to do nothing more than who knows what.
Yeah.
Maybe aim to be an engineer in a very low paid job in some bank, you know. Like that's what engineers, software engineers do in this country. They work for a bank app, for the bank app.
Yeah.
And that's like the most prestigious job, and it's not that great. And
So did you, just curious, did you go to a bilingual high school? Because your English is very
never,
good. So.
no, I just watched PewDiePie.
But watched what?
PewDiePie.
I don't know
It's,
what that is.
It's a YouTuber.
Okay.
So I was watching a lot of YouTube, and also the Keiser report. Like I was abnormally interested in financial stuff when I was that young, because
Yeah, for a high schooler to be watching the Kaiser report.
I do believe I was watching it since like maybe 13, 14. And,
Okay.
you know, Max always says that he would be that way because he wanted to help the weirdos. He says that he was always trying to attract the weirdos to watch him. So that's why he would act that way. Or the person that wouldn't think in the most normal way.
Yeah.
Because you have to be a little bit weird to start watching the guy screaming on TV and pretending to be a tapeworm in Jerome Powell's asshole, you know, being Jamie Dimon and that type of thing. So, but, you know, I was 15 and I thought I was funny, and I just kept watching, and then I started to realize that what he was saying actually made sense in a world where really it wasn't making much sense. That why are we here? But more specifically, how is it that I was, or me, or anybody else in this country was supposed to do anything with their lives if it was so difficult, regardless of the access we had to the internet, which means information.
Yeah.
You know, imagine you're just someone very interested in learning in this country 15 years ago, and it doesn't matter how much you learn, because who's gonna care?
Yeah, you have access to the information,
Yeah.
but not the opportunity to use that information.
And now that I've worked so much with students and younger people than me and brighter people than me, I've realized that regardless of many things, you don't get a job because it helps that you're great at what you do. But the most important thing is that they trust you, is that they can rely on you, because you're not gonna hire a genius that you have never seen in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm in Afghanistan, you know, blah, blah, like maybe answers all the questions right, but he's in Afghanistan and you've never seen him.
Yeah.
You know, and they can just send you a pixelated photo taken with an Alcatel phone. So you're going to feel reluctant to hire that person or to rely that person on something important. So locality does matter, and the background of the region where the person lives matters a lot. And that's something that hadn't been fixed for us till now. And so, yeah. So 15 years ago, watching Keiser Report on reruns in some super random channel that had just come out, and it didn't have much programs really. So they were doing reruns of Deutsche Welle and Russian Today. So at maybe 1 a.m. in the morning, when I was like supposed to be sleeping, going to high school, I started watching it. It was Stacy and Max talking some crazy stuff, Max screaming and Stacy making some sense out of Max gelling, and starting to make sense. It started when someone offers a young person some logic and some sense and some meaning in what the world is doing to this person's life, that becomes very attractive. So I just became very attracted to the idea of following the Keiser report, and I just kept doing it even because the reruns are not like they're not constant. You know, they stop. Maybe they don't do it every week, or maybe 2 months later they don't stop doing it. So I started watching on YouTube, and of course I very clearly became very clear that English was a very important thing. Many people struggle with languages, and I wasn't like different from that. Like English was my worst subject in school, right? And
Spanish was for me. So ironically, since I'm living in Latin America now. So
yeah, and you know that tells you everything about how we teach kids things.
yeah.
Like it was the worst, and also math, and now now I speak English, and I'm somewhat of an engineer. So that's very interesting about education. And so I just kept at it, and I just kept consuming all that knowledge instead of focusing on pleasing my thermodynamics teachers in the way that they wanted to be pleased, because that's what they want. They want to be pleased. They want you to know to do things the exact way they are doing it somehow, you know. So I was studying food engineering, and I had thermodynamics as a class, and I was the one explaining everybody else the concepts conceptually, why we were thinking about entropy and about the Geeks whatever laws and whatever. I was explaining the theory, but I was very bad at doing the calculations. And if you don't do the calculation right, it's like if you didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
did
and I
it.
know in El Salvador, especially then, they was very like rote learning. They want you to memorize and do it exactly, and not necessarily focused on being able to think through the problems,
Oh
but
yeah,
just
you're
to
just
be
a
able to
machine.
like,
You're only supposed to reproduce the techniques that someone else created.
yeah,
That's why there is no innovation really, because they don't learn you to think. They just teach you to reproduce, to continue doing the thing. Like if you're a food engineer, someone in Germany probably came up with a system to process something, and you just have to follow the system. They don't want you to create a new, better system, more efficient, more specified for our needs. They just want you to do what the German guy did. That's what the company wants you to do. So
yeah,
inherently, there is no innovation in any aspect when you teach that way. And instead of like, because that killed my soul as an engineer or as a person, I just started watching the Keiser report, and pretty much by watching, I learned so much about how to even behave as a human being. Like one of the last things that I was watching right before I met Max and Stacy was somehow they were talking about people that get things done and people that just go through the noise. And they were like being very specific about that in a couple of episodes right before I met them. And when I met them, I was like, I did that. Like I was like straightforward, like I've been meaning to meet you all this time, and now you're here. And yeah, and then Stacy recognized something in me, I guess, and she hired me, like 4 or 5 months after she met me,
okay.
and that's when the Bitcoin
So
office
you
started.
sought them out when they came in.
When they came in, well, I do, because this is a podcast, right? So
Yeah.
podcasts are more personal. I have some more freedom to talk about personal stuff other than just, oh, you're the director of some institution. Like Bitcoiners don't
Yeah.
really care too much about that, anyways, right? So I've always been interested in many things that many Bitcoiners are interested in, like meaning religion, thought process, the universe, energy, blah blah blah. And I have come out with some that fit me the best, which include Wim Hof breathing techniques, Jordan Peterson's way of structuring your thought process, and some other things that have to do with the law of attraction. I'm sorry, visualizing something so you get it. So legit, I was like visualizing Max and Stacy in 2014, like 15, because I had sat down and meditate a little bit, and I was like, what do I really want to do with my life without any restraint or any prejudgment of like if it's possible or not. And I was like, the absolute best thing that I could ever do or start doing is to be Max Keiser's assistant and start from there, because I just really felt like I could trust him in a theoretical way, because you need to want to help who you're helping.
Yeah.
I didn't want just a job. I wanted to do something that mattered. So that's what I wanted in 2014. In 2019, the president Nayib Bukele, I think, mentioned Bitcoin, right? Like when was it? In 2021, he made it legal
Yeah.
tender.
Yeah.
2021, I guess. And that was what, 6, 7 years before that. I think the president wasn't even a major of the, maybe he was the mayor of Nuevo Cuscatlan, when I was thinking that I wanted to work for Max Keiser. And then I really, like, for like 3 years, I just meditated on it. I just really always thought that somehow I was gonna work for him or for them, I guess. And so when the law passed, I was like relieved, because I was like, oh, finally, whatever I was visualizing is happening. And then they came, and then they stayed. And for like maybe almost a year, I never met them. And I kind of knew where they were. It was in the pandemic times, like ending the pandemic times. But I never really tried to reach out to them until Stacy mentioned that she was bringing Jimmy Song. And I was like, oh, wait, I can code. So I can take this course. And I did. I took it. I met them.
So you participated in the first course that they did. That was the first one, right? With Jimmy.
Yeah, it was amazing. And as soon as I knew he was coming and that was happening, I read the coding Bitcoin from scratch like 3 times, and I did the whole thing because it's more than a book. It's an exercise. You need to install a bunch of things, and then you run it, and then you just start answering everything. And I did that like 3 times, and then I read the whole thing like 5 times until the point where, like, if I remember a topic, I could, like, oh, I know in this page it talks about it. And then I did the course, and then I was like, so this is me. I think crazy things that most people don't base their lives on, but I do. And she was like, oh, amazing. Maybe we can like work something together. Maybe you can help us with some stuff. And then Max says that he was scared of me or something. I don't know. He was like, who's this guy? Like, I think he's crazy or something. And
which is ironic coming from Max.
yeah. And then things started happening. Then I was hired a few months later. And since then, Stacy's been teaching me how to get shit done. As simple as that, because that's what you need to do when you do what we do.
And she's very good at that. She gets stuff done.
Yeah, it's just, she doesn't care how I get it done. Like, it has to get done, and there's no excuses. And I feel like I can do whatever.
Yeah.
Now, just thanks to that, and yeah.
No, you definitely you learn to recognize the people in the world that just get things done. I mean, that's, as a business owner my whole life, it was always, you just had to get it done. There was no excuse. There was no reason why you couldn't done. You just had to do it.
Whenever you hire anybody to get things done, you don't hire them with a resume. You hire them with an interview, and you get their feeling, right? Like, you're like, oh, you can do it. Or you're like, oh, like, if you're like too soft or too
sometimes people, they might not even know the subject matter, but you can tell they're the type of person who's going to figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah.
Where the expert might have all the knowledge, but they don't have I don't know what it is, that X factor to actually like get it done.
The expert wants a contract, wants with detailing everything you want from them, and you actually need to hire another person to hire the expert, actually, because the expert is just going to do exactly to the fine print what you tell them to do, but it's not exactly how you need it. You always need the person that can get things done. So I guess that's what Stacy's been teaching me and made me become in these last 3 years. And
so, what in your role in the Bitcoin office, what did you spend most of your time doing? I know you traveled quite a bit to conferences and were involved in things, but what was kind of the day-to-day grind for you?
That doesn't exist, really. Like,
it was always
I just do
whatever needed to be done.
Yeah, like, actually for 3 years, I've been sent to tell ministers what to do because sometimes at first, right, like, they didn't know what Bitcoin was, right?
Yeah.
And they will like
most of them didn't know what Bitcoin was.
Yeah, and they sometimes they didn't know that there was a Bitcoin office. So I was like, hi, I'm the Bitcoin office, and you need to follow these guidelines because, like, you shouldn't just create something like that or do things with shitcoiners and stuff. And from getting bookings in hotels and dinner reservations for people that come meet the president or something, to go greet them, to run education programs, to filter students, to make web pages and databases for managing the students, absolutely anything that needed to be done. Like I've actually, I don't think I've ever had like a reproducible day. Like there's not such a thing.
Yeah.
It just need to move people because, well, especially in this country, it's quite difficult that attitude that everyone wants to follow what their contract says.
Yeah.
Because we're very scared.
Well, and it's
easily
a very
scared.
top-down. Like people are afraid to do stuff unless
Yeah.
they've been specifically authorized to do it.
And so when the guy, like the 28, 29-year-old guy with a cap and shorts, speaking weird, comes to your government office and starts telling you what to do, and you're like, well, who the fuck are you? You know? And then I have to like explain who I am and why they need to do what I tell them. And that's being it.
Yeah.
Getting things done at multiple levels, and that's been very, very instructive. Like I've learned so much, and I've become so much, I mean, bigger than what I was, I think. That's what I've been doing the last 2 years.
What's been the most surprising thing about your position, or that things that you've been able to participate in?
Well, I guess is one of the things that we realize over the time. Like we can just do stuff.
I love that phrase. I love that phrase. You can just do stuff.
Yeah, because fuck it, like unless like someone dies, which I mean, who's gonna die? There's so much you can do
Yeah.
before you cross that line, and you should just do it. And I guess actually this morning I was thinking, what's like the absolutely most mind-blowing thing that I've learned this last years, and it probably is that probably the whole world is made of sheep, and you can just become a lion, and you decide that. And most people are just afraid to death
Yeah.
of something.
No, but what if this happens? What if that
Yeah.
happens? Or
And
I don't know
that's-
if that's allowed.
And that's stop them.
Yeah.
And if you realize that there is nothing to fear, you can just do everything.
Yeah.
And if you fail, who cares? And actually, if you fail, awesome, because you learn what not to do. You already mapped that part of the possibilities. That's how AI actually works. You know, like they try and fail 1,000 billion times until they succeed, and they learn. And we should do the same. And the thing is that AI is not afraid. We are.
Yeah. I never thought of it like that, but that makes sense. Yeah, I think I've always kind of freaked people out because that's how I've lived my life. I've just been like, what, you're moving to El Salvador? It's the murder capital of the world. And I'm like, yeah, no, but that's where I want to be.
Yeah, you're extremely interesting. You moved way before anything. You're the reason why everything happened in the first place in many ways. And you were here how many years ago?
Well, we actually bought our first house here in 2005.
Damn,
So-
I was 10.
Yeah.
That was
Ve-
20 years ago.
Very early, very early.
Whoa. Why?
I came here on a surf trip and fell in love
Oh,
with
yeah.
the country, the people. It was this interesting place where like the people were like so friendly and hardworking, but at the same time you could tell like something was holding them back. Like it was some places you go in the world and you're like, I don't know if this country's ever going to develop because the work ethic and the mindset. But I didn't feel that here. I felt in El Salvador like people had the work ethic, they had like the desire to live, but there was like something holding it back. And so it
Definitely.
was something special, like percolating here.
Definitely seeing the hermanos lejanos, the Salvadoreños that go to the U.S. succeed, definitely
yeah.
inspired us enough to believe that it was actually possible and to maybe at least try. Like, I think actually in 2005, 6, 7, I actually came to El Sonte. El Sonte wasn't a popular beach at all.
No.
Like, it was one of the most desolated beaches in terms of tourists, national tourists.
Yeah.
And that's actually the reason why we came here, because my uncle said like, oh, that was like an empty one, because you're always trying to find the empty one because there's too much people sometimes.
Yeah.
So we came here like so long ago, and we came like 3 times and there was nothing.
Yeah, there was only, I think Olas Permanentes was one of the only like hotels at that time, and Cincia Nativia I think was there too, and Saburo's place. There was like 3 hotels in town.
And now it's insane.
Yeah.
Like pieces of land are worth millions.
Yeah. And
Like right
you
next.
go around the corner and there's a new construction that wasn't there yesterday.
It's, and you know, that's how this country is going to look like, because this is like the nucleus of the Bitcoin revolution thing, and that's El Salvador right now. Like it's just maybe El Sonte, 2020,
Yeah,
and huge signal.
definitely. So for you in this shift, will you still be doing things with the Bitcoin office, or is your role totally shifting, or is
My
it going to be a
job-
gradual shift to
My
focusing more
job
on
is
AI?
to get things done,
Okay.
and I'll like only the future says is gonna tell me what I need
Yeah.
to do. Definitely, I just have like more things to do. But you know, I've become like quite of the alchemist on somehow the magician to grab a second and stretch it. You know, it's we see time as a bidimensional, actually one-dimensional linear structure. Now it's starting to become two-dimensional. Where like each second can have like multiple things going on in that second. So it's just a matter of mastering that, that magic to make a day last longer while keeping sane. And the whole thing is just things to do. There's always something to do. And common sense, which is the number one policy, I guess, of our government, is just common sense after all. Common sense and getting within the getting things done agenda. That's it. And whatever it's needed, whatever the president sends me to do, and whatever Stacy thinks is best too. Definitely, there's a bunch of other things. Like actually, that's why I was like quite late today to this meeting, and we reschedule a bunch of things to do. But we will always make it work.
So what is your main like mandate and focus within the AI component, and how does that connect with the Bitcoin office and what's happening there?
The agency, it's a agency that it's set to set some rules on the game industry, especially new industries require clear jurisdictional, like how do you call them, laws, like
Slides or guidelines.
guidelines clear on that. Like if you make it clear from the beginning, it's just way easier for them to do it, to go for your jurisdiction to develop something. So we're doing that with artificial intelligence, with robotics, with the main drivers of the future, of the future economical growth of the world.
And is El Salvador like actively trying to recruit people from the AI industry, or is this more of a ground up trying to build that from the Salvadoran student population that's graduating?
The brightest minds of artificial intelligence are already very interested in this country because the president is so famous for such good things like getting the violence controlled. So everybody is like interested on a jurisdiction that has such a strong leadership and such a clear path towards development. And that's why, I run the CUBO program, educational program that started as a Bitcoin program. Now is an artificial intelligence also.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So it's not just Bitcoin.
No, we're already doing artificial intelligence courses and lectures. And the first lecturer was Kathy Wood, who is extremely important in all technology industry. She's one of the, if not the most famous investor in any technological
That's
anything
so amazing
ever.
that you guys were able to have her as
And she was the first lecturer. Yes, and many other very important figures have given class and will give class the same way we have always done it with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The image of El Salvador, the idea of it that all the people in the world has about it, it makes it very attractive for anybody in artificial intelligence or robotics or Bitcoin to want to give class to our students. And that gives them the perfect first step into our country and through us and into their potential future moving here, developing here, teaching here, so the kids and students that they teach become the core of the future's development. And that's, I would say, the first and most developed aspect of what we do as Bitcoin Office and also as Anya. artificial intelligence agency. We focus a lot on education. Every single other government that contacts us, they always they always mention education as the main thing that it's so special about us, because any other government or any other government official, they always focus on quick growth, and
Yeah.
that's not what you get with education. With education, you get the growth that's going to live for
It's sustainable. Yeah.
decades, hundreds of years, thousands of years, and that's the only way you become a strong powerhouse after a few decades. If you just did things quick, it was like llamada de tus in Spanish, just like a poof, and it disappeared. So we have the long, like the low time preference that Seyfedin taught us, and we have focused in the most low time preference thing possible, which is starting with Bitcoin, education, and now getting the artificial intelligence correct and the robotics correct. So the best and most ethic and long-term thinking investors and developers in each industry decide that El Salvador has to be part of their strategy. And that's our ethos. And the agency, what's supposed to do is to promote the education, to create collaboration with industries, with other countries, and to create a clear path for these industries to develop in the country. And that's what they want, for starters, to understand what is needed from them to comply with, in terms of safety, in terms of ethics. So that's the plan right now.
When it comes to education, are you guys primarily focused on people at the university level, or is this like all throughout the high school, elementary school level? What is your guys' focus on the as far as education?
All throughout. Kathy Wood, actually, she met the president, I think last year. David Poole, her second hand, gave a lecture in CUBO Plus about analysis, about on-chain analysis, and it wasn't just about on-chain analysis. It was about some market analysis, some complicated financial stuff that ARC does, and that was last year. And she met the president also last year, and since then we've been working with ARC Educate, which is the education arm of ARC, and we are teaching first graders, so 7-year-old students, artificial intelligence and robotics classes.
7-year-olds.
7-year-olds, and we are
That's
the only
amazing.
country in the world that does that, and only very high-end private schools in the US and maybe Europe have anything similar. So we have the absolute best education in this country already compared to anybody, nowhere. And that's with artificial intelligence and robotics. We're also doing the little Hodler books, workbooks with Lena.
Yeah.
From, I think, first grade too. It might be second grade, I don't remember exactly. And then we have high schools. We have the program of Node Nation. We get the technical students and we teach them how to run a node, how to be their own bank, how to make channels in between them. And now the Bitcoin office has a node. We're going to start making some channels with them. And that's the idea that we had so long ago, right? Like a whole country made with a bunch of Lightning channels and exchanging sovereignty. So we have the whole spectrum since first grade. And I do believe ARC is trying to do some even younger. I think so. I might have heard something. And then we have CUBO Plus, which focuses on university students, although we have had some high schoolers that were just graduating, and also professionals. So it's all the spectrum of education all the way to university, and after that, because CUBO Plus arguably is like the best Bitcoin course that's ever existed. At least Peter told me that. He said that it was right with another one that I don't remember the name of. But it was that one and CUBO Plus. And in terms of being complete and being intensive, and that's what we're doing with education, and also artificial intelligence now, and a little bit of robotics. We just had a Hugging Face Let Robot hackathon
Okay.
last week, so we're doing the whole thing. So in 20 years, when these guys and some of the kids grow up, they know what to do. They know how to. They have the skills necessary to take advantage of everything. And I guess that's what a government should do, to give all these opportunities. So that's what we're doing. And those are things that show up like the best in 20 years. But that's why we have the low time preference. We're building for the future in the present, yeah.
So when you were a 15-year-old watching the Keiser report, I bet you never dreamed that
I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Like, if I was like certain that I was going to be Max or Stacy's assistant, I don't know what I thought. I don't know really. Maybe I would have never even thought that we were going to be in this country. Maybe it was, I don't know, because I don't remember what I was visualizing exactly, like how it looked in my vision. But definitely never really thought too much that we could do it. And we're doing like the absolute best in the absolute most. The most difficult things tend to be like the best things to do. And that's why they're so difficult, because they're the best path. And that's why life is always so difficult, because you're always trying to do the best. Maybe if you're not, it gets easy.
Yeah.
So you're not innovating. I didn't know at all. And it's been so incredible. Like, sure, I've traveled quite a lot. Sometimes I force myself to travel. Sometimes I'm not necessarily required there, but I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'll pay for it, like, and I'll just go. And it's amazing. Actually, as a Bitcoiner, especially as a not that wealthy Bitcoiner, I always think like, should I spend on this? Should I go here, whatever? And it's always been worth it, because
I'm a big believer, in the value of travel and experience.
because I could have like 3 times more Bitcoin now, and have not done shit with my life the last year other than work. And I would not be the person that I am today, even for work. Like, even my capacity to handle things, like the simple vision of how good it can get, it would not be the same if I would have not seen how good it can get. I try to go very often to Asia because my wife's from Taiwan. So Taiwan is like, it's so amazing. Like, and they have like the best transport in the world, the system of transportation, and the best roads in certain areas, the best systems at least. And we have the worst, some of the worst in this country because of the drivers' attitudes mostly. And if I didn't know that actually you can behave when you drive and you can let people go,
You can let people merge in.
and that you don't have to almost die every time you get into a car, I wouldn't know better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to improve, like, because it's all like your expectation, the framework of how you see the world determines how good you're going to try to improve. And if everything I knew was this country, I would have never tried to get any better.
No, I'm a huge proponent of travel. I know how much it impacted my life traveling when I was in college and just out of college. And so whether it's people on the Bitcoin Beach team or the other projects we work with around the world, whenever we get a chance to send them to a conference or to bring them together with other projects, people, it can be expensive, but you're like, but you don't realize like the payoff will be over the next 40 years of their life and how productive they are.
That's my favorite
and how
thing.
they see things.
That's my favorite thing about, because I have something similar with the CUBO Plus students and the CUBO Plus team. Like, the CUBO Plus team is just a few CUBO Plus students from previous years. And they had similar situations as me, like just normal Salvadoreños that don't even have a USA visa.
Yeah.
And bringing them places is just fantastic, because they cannot believe it. They cannot believe that they're there, or they cannot believe that it's actually that big, or that it's actually that bright, or that it's actually that efficient. uh, things in general, like transportation
Yeah.
or skyscrapers or food, that it can actually taste that good and it can actually be that healthy, not all those seed oils. And when they come back, even with me, like when I come back, I'm just ready to blow
Improve
it,
things.
to blow it through the roof,
Yeah.
you know. I'm just ready to be like, okay, let's get this thing done. Let's get this country straightened up.
I think it also helps you. Another thing is it does help you appreciate things that you love about El Salvador too, because when you go, there's certain things that you miss and you realize, like, yes, there's lots of things that need to improve, but there's lots of inherent beauty and bounty here in El Salvador also.
Oh yeah, it depends on the place too, but definitely, yeah, it's a great fuel. It's a great fuel. Actually, I have all these ideas, right, that not necessarily have shared, but you know the Red Cross, how is like emulated to the Swiss country, like it's just the opposite, right? Like, so it's supposed to be some type of NGO that it reflects the Swiss values on of neutrality, trying to help the wounded in wars at first, and now it's just an institution like this, right? So I was like, I've actually been thinking that Salvadoreños should become some type of Bitcoin diplomats in general. Like the students that we sent sometimes with scholarship programs to other countries, they should go very full aware of the sound money properties, and go teach their classmates in other countries about how we got it done. You know, the money part. And I think that's a project that I just have in my mind, and I just want it to come along. You know, for Salvadoreños to become some type of Red Cross diplomatic thing
Yeah.
about Bitcoin, about excellence in money creation and being sovereign.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Definitely with them coming out from here with that type of background, because I think sometimes we assume being here in El Salvador, we feel like everybody knows about Bitcoin, and maybe they just don't want to hear more about it. But you realize there's so many people in the world that haven't even heard about Bitcoin. Like they just don't, or if they've heard about it, they don't understand like even a little bit about
I
it.
still go somewhere and I ask a waiter if I can pay with Bitcoin, and they actually don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Still, and it's pretty much the most successful thing in financials ever already. And you could think that, oh, everybody knows about it, or at least anybody has it in their mind, especially since Trump has such a strong policy on it. But no.
Yeah. A lot of people, they're focused on their own lives, their own problems, and
Yeah, and imagine Salvadoreños becoming that voice in especially the ones that get scholarships. They tend to be so focused in their studies.
Yeah.
So I want to target them to teach them very well what money is, and the whole ethos of Bitcoin. And yeah, there's like endless possibilities, and we can just do it. You know, it just requires me to create a new dimension in time, so we get it done.
I love that. So, do you have any set goals for the next year in your new position? I know you've just been appointed to it, so you're probably still wrapping your head around what it's going to entail. But
yeah, we've been working for quite a long time to get certain, let's say, partnerships or cooperation agreements done, and to get them like to realize them. So get those done definitely, and to kickstart many education programs and to build new ones. Actually, within the next weeks, we're gonna be announcing a bunch of very good stuff that we can just not just say what it is, because it requires, like, some of these huge corporations, they have departments, whole departments of PR, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then you have to sign a contract with their PR department about how to talk about them, even, like, or about the cooperation. But there's a bunch of cooperation things that we're gonna do with CUBO Plus, with the students in the schools. ARC, I'm sure we're gonna make it like grow and to expand more ARC Educate programs. And it's straightforward, just common sense. Not regulation actually, because these laws that we're doing are not, they're inviting, they're not to stop anything, but to create a clear path for companies to actually be able to do what they need to do, and to incentivize them in any way that is actually possible. So those are the goals, to keep the machine going, because we are moving in a steady, stable way that is the total opposite of what cheat coins do. You know, they just land in your country, they ask you to buy their token, and then it pumps and dumps, pumps
Yeah.
and dumps. It's not a heartbeat, right? So what we're doing is grabbing from the ground everything and building it together, you know. So when you're in the half life of the pyramid, you're like, sure, you're just halfway there, but actually you just have to build a like almost 9 times smaller pyramid to get there, because you already have the base.
You got the
So
firm base.
we're just exponentially growing and exponentially becoming more successful. And that's the way the president has done things. And that's the way we are going to keep doing them. And simply excellence only. Being as efficient as possible, following the philosophy that we have, which is sound money, low time preference, and what also the president preaches about God in general. You know, it's just common sense.
Yeah. No, I think for me, one of the best representations of the type of progress El Salvador's making is the airport. Like, it just keeps getting better and more efficient, and it's faster to get through, and everything makes sense. They've gotten rid of the extra steps. Like, now you don't have to go through immigration on the way out. You don't have to pay an entry fee when you come in. They got rid of all these extra steps, and they've just streamlined it, so it makes it this great experience for people that come and visit. Now I go to other places, and I'm so frustrated because I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my
you
gosh,
know,
we got to sit in line for an hour and a half and pay this fee here and fill out this stupid paper, and like,
I've been going a lot to Guatemala for personal reasons. And, you know, Guatemala is the country next door, and it's much bigger. And historically, it's been much more wealthier.
yeah,
And they have much more, they've been more developed in general. Like, they have more skyscrapers, they have more modern things in general, because they've just been wealthier and they're bigger. And their airport reflects that in a certain way. But they have such a bad situation right now with safety and politically. And their airport is empty. Like, the stores are closed at 5 p.m., at 4 p.m. It's closed. Everything is closed. It feels depressing, and it's bigger. Maybe, I don't know, like, definitely, maybe not twice as big as El Salvador's airport, but bigger. But it's empty. And then I come back here, and it's freaking, like, it's super busy.
busy but fast still. Like, thing gets processed,
every
and you're
store
not
is
sitting in
open.
line. Yeah,
So there is people coming.
yeah,
So it's booming. There is like foreigners coming here for whatever reason, but they're not going to Guatemala. And also the businesses, like, they're open at 9 a.m. At 9 p.m. And you can see how it's just boom times in many ways. And we're only going to keep that if we keep steady.
yeah.
You know, if we keep delivering nice, high quality things.
Definitely. I think that's a good note to end on, unless there's something else we haven't covered that you wanted to chat about.
Oh my God, so much. I just, well, you know, because I was just appointed a week ago, I think.
Uh-huh.
And it's been crazy. I'm just going, how we say in Spanish, de la seca a la meca, up and down everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess for a billion times, I imagined the first time Mike Peterson was going to interview me. You know, it's one of those moments. I watched so many of those moments. You know, like when Jordan Peterson interviews someone that has actually been watching Jordan Peterson for quite a while. But I'm sure I'll remember one day, and I'm sure maybe in a few years you want to interview me again for some reason.
No, we need to have you back on here in a few months when you can share once you've gotten in the office and gotten your.
We can do an annual report.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, checks
At
and balance,
least.
checks
At
and
least.
balance, like Tucker just did to Cruz, you know, but something like that.
So are you going to do that to me, like Tucker did to Cruz?
You should do
keep
it
me
to
in
me.
line.
Yeah, you need to keep us in line. You're the chickens and balance in this country. You
Yeah.
have to be.
No, and that's one of the things I appreciate about El Salvador is, despite what a lot of people say, you can bring up problems, you can, bring up issues. It's still a free society. I feel much more free here than I would if I was in the UK or
Yes.
Australia.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, I don't even want to think about those places. Really, it's like it's crazy. And perspective. Media really has such a big impact on everything.
Yeah.
Like before I went to Asia, I thought it was a tutorialism everywhere. Everybody was like in Japan they were the press. In South Korea they were like K-pop or something. Like it's totally different when you go there, or like Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi or those type of places. You can really have no idea what a place is like unless you go there and talk to the people.
Yeah.
Like for as much as you research, there's just no way. YouTubers help though, because YouTubers really share their lives and really share their actual thoughts. And that's the real like media.
Yeah, much more than the media presentation.
Yeah,
The YouTubers, they're boots on the ground. They're giving the real story.
I honestly, I could not respect anybody ever watching media in general, like CNN or some established anything. It's just propaganda. And it has always been, I guess. But
we didn't know before we had YouTube and everything else. We
Right.
didn't realize how much it was.
and that's the
propaganda.
problem, now we have the option. Now we have YouTube. So it's up to us to actually look for the right answers. So it's up to us now.
Yeah.
It's more freedom of option.
Well, perfect. Well, we will circle back with you hopefully in a few months, maybe in November around the time of adopting Bitcoin. We can get you back on.
Oh, yeah. Adopting Bitcoin, yes.
Yeah, it's just around
It's
the corner.
going to be a crazy one this year.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, we'll let you go. I know even though it's the weekend, you're probably not off because
Oh
I
my
know
God, that
the
doesn't
government
exist.
workers here do not stop on the weekends.
I haven't had a free day in 2 weeks. I thought yesterday was going to be, but then they call me for something. It's crazy. It's like nighttime is sometimes my free time, I guess. But
Yeah. No, that's the thing I appreciate about the government here is the government workers work harder than anybody. I mean, we
well,
see
I think
ministers and people showing up late at night to things on the weekends.
Yeah, I think the president is very demanding, which is good. Like we have a lot of things to do. This country needs a lot. Like it's not straightforward at all, but it's a total white canvas.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of convincing, there's a bunch of building, there's a bunch of convincing based on building, because once you build something good, people are like, oh, so it can be done,
Yeah.
so I'll do it. And that requires 24/7 for many public servants. And it's true, like, yeah, it's just, and you have to actually like it and believe in it. Like that's a very good filter for public servants here. That if you actually can get a better job somewhere else and you don't care enough to actually stick to it, you'll just go, because you're
No, you see in a lot of places people get the government jobs because they're easy, but it's the opposite here in El
Holy cow.
Salvador. The government jobs are some of the most demanding, and you can
No.
tell the people are really, they are really about improving their country.
But it's
They're
because
in it for that.
but it's because we're inspired now.
Yeah.
We're not trying to maintain anything. In other places, they're just bureaucrats trying to maintain the stability of something already built. But here we have to build it like from zero. So it's a whole startup thing. So everybody has like full-on responsibility, full-on hands-on a bunch of projects. Like I talk a lot with the Minister of Education. That guy is like on everything, like all the freaking time, and it's crazy, and it's amazing, really. It's quite cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mario. We'll let you get back to work, and we will catch up with you around adopting Bitcoin.
Thank you, Mike.